Happy Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Roll Pod. Can get your listen or watch on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, right here on Bama247 as well. Mike, Alex, how we doing coming off Alabama? Pretty good performance against Wisconsin in Bryant-Denny yesterday.
Yeah, we're a quarter of the way through the season, regular season. It's crazy.
But it's not the quarter poll. Can we just get that straight? It's not the quarter poll. Everybody always gets that wrong. Have you ever heard that? Like quarter way through the season, everybody says, oh, it's a quarter pole. But the quarter pole in horse racing is actually the 3/4 mark. We have a quarter to go. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Good morning, Roll Pod.
Mike is champing at the bit.
See, that's another one that people get wrong. Alex has astutely noticed that people say chomping when technically, I guess it's champing, right?
Yeah.
Another horse reference.
Yeah. I did not know that. I did not.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was really champing at the bit.
I was going to say that it's amazing. We're here after, the sky was falling after week one. And now I feel like the vibes are different now. But we've got a bye week in Georgia. And, we're really going to find out about this team here shortly.
Yeah, that was kind of – you're right. The sky was falling. And, after last week, all is right in the world in Tuscaloosa. Is the sky? I guess that's kind of a good question to go off the today. Is the sky still falling? Are they holding it up? Is it going back? Like, Mike, we'll start with you. Just coming off the weekend again, Alabama won 38-14. Ty Simpson 4 touchdowns, 5 incompletions. Defense was flying around. The offense looked good. Again, Alabama coming off 38-14. We'll just start with kind of biggest takeaways, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, the sky is in suspense. Like, it's not going up, it's not going down. It's just kind of waiting. And I think everybody's just kind of waiting. Because honestly, if you asked me that morning after the Florida State game, would they beat the hell out of ULM in Wisconsin? I probably still would have said yes.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think the last 2 games were any surprise. I think if they didn't do that, then it would have been surprising. So these 2 games were just kind of your recovery period. I'm not going to call it your get right period because I just don't know if that's necessarily the case. And look, I think to the credit of Alabama players after the game, they really struck the right tone. Bray Hubbard, I think, especially talking about the defense, saying like there's things that they're doing wrong that are going to get them if they don't clean them up. And this is a defense that's allowed 1 touchdown over the last 2 games. So I think that's the right message. I think he has the right mindset there. Ryan Williams talking about having an okay game because he dropped, the pass in the 4th quarter, the touchdown pass, and saying that Freddie Soft was jumping on his back. As Jamarcus Shepard likes to say, Freddie Soft, which is this whole idea of complacency, which I think Alabama right now is trying to avoid. Ty Simpson talking about relaxation syndrome. Is that it?
Relief syndrome.
Relief syndrome. That's right. I forgot my Nick Saban quotes already. I think it's all the right idea. So I don't get the sense right now that this team is high on itself, that it's resting on its laurels in the last 2 games. Like I said, I think these 2 games went the way that we thought they would. I think Wisconsin confirmed that they're not a very good football team, which is what I was trying to tell their fan base last week, and they were angrily reacting to me on the Badger247 board. I just wasn't impressed with Wisconsin last year. I don't think that they were much different this year. They are a revolving door at quarterback. They have no talent at wide receiver. Their defense is all right, but not great. And their offensive line was a mess against Alabama. So it wasn't a good team. And I think Alabama did what it needed to do. I think there's obviously some self-inflicted wounds there that you can't do against better teams. But from here on out, minus the Eastern Illinois game, I don't know what's going to happen in any of these games. Yeah. Honestly, do not. I think the South Carolina game is looking a little bit easier. South Carolina does not look as good. Now Lenore Sellers is hurt. But Vandy, conversely, coming to town, having just, not just, but in this particular moment, having just beaten South Carolina pretty handily on the road. I mean, yeah, Alabama can go out and beat Georgia, but is anybody really going to be convinced about this team until they see them play Vandy the following week? Because that's what happened last year. So I don't want to put all the eggs in the basket of this game. Now, it would be monumental for them to go to Georgia and win, but it's not the end of the story, as we saw last year.
Yeah, I think that's probably a conversation for when we get closer to the game, but I do think there's an element that inside that building, they should be careful about putting all their eggs in one basket. Because if you do lose, it shouldn't be the end of the world in that building, because you've got a lot more road to hoe if you do. And if you win, conversely, it doesn't mean everything's right with the world, because last year they won. Now, to go back to Wisconsin, the sky is no longer falling, but nobody really knows what's around the corner. What encourages me is the same thing that encouraged me against ULM, which is the style of play and the game slowing down for Ty and being accurate with the football and making good decisions, not making boneheaded plays, not being a split second behind. He knows where he wants to go with the football, and he's doing it quickly. And if that carries over, Alabama's offense is going to be in a really good place. The defense, again, there's still, 7 missed tackles. There's still, when they run misdirection, guys are not in the spot they need to be. Their eyes are playing games with them. Eye discipline is the term Nick Saban used to use, and it doesn't appear to be there. There are little things you can nitpick, but I think the offense overall, passing game in particular, is improved. Running game might just be what it is, and the offensive line so far, it's a disappointment. I don't know if it's a massive disappointment yet, but they still aren't playing to the level you'd want them to. So, Alabama's done what they need to do, but they're still, if they're not red flags, they're yellow flags. Like, hey, this thing needs to be paid attention to, because Georgia, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, like, those teams are going to know how to exploit it. As Kane Womack said last week, we're putting things on tape we're going to have to answer for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I asked Bray when he said there's things that we're not doing well that are going to get us. I said, what are those things? And he specifically said MAs, missed assignments.
Yeah.
And he said everybody needs to do their job, which is a similar tone to what Deontay Lawson was saying to you after the first game. So in that sense, there's still things there. And honestly, I don't know if the problem with Georgia is going to be misdirection as much as like they're just going to try to run over you. And they have the guys more than likely to do it. Their offensive line is not as good this year, but I mean, Georgia physically is going to stack up well against Alabama, better than probably any team in the country. That's just historically what the case has been. Like, Georgia's there.
Yeah.
So both sides of the ball, like, they're going to physically match you. It's not even just the eye candy and the scheme. It's they're going to, with their bodies, get you. And that's what Alabama's going to have to be ready for.
I will say one other thing you talked about, setting the right tone. I think Kalen DeBoer also deserves a little bit of credit because he is coaching differently right now. I don't think anybody who watched last year and has watched the last few weeks can say there's not a change, because he is more demonstrative. He's getting after players. And when he goes into a press conference, he's saying things like, this is great, but don't let your foot off the gas. Like he said, 1 game means nothing. 2 games really means nothing. So I think, and again, this game's great. Well, what did we do in the fourth quarter? The fourth quarter was a mess for Alabama. So I think he's sort of learning a little bit what this team wants from him, because they are used to a certain way of doing things with Nick Saban, and that's hard coaching, and maybe he's adjusting to that. I think this fan base has always wanted that. So maybe there's a little bit of better feelings around that. But I do think it should be acknowledged that he's also, I think, handling this thing the right way. That, look, they're 2-1. They're finally over 500 again. Who would have thought we'd be saying that 3 games in the season? But, he's not celebrating. I don't think anybody in that building is necessarily celebrating right now.
Acquiescing, I think, is kind of the right word, if you will. Yeah. I think I don't say he's stubborn before, but I think he certainly realized now, like, people want to hear a certain thing from you.
Yeah.
And he's delivering that.
It's that, but it's also, I think he realized that Florida State game that this team needs to be kicked in the ass a little bit because of how listless they were, their lack of confidence. Like, they need top-down leadership. And he said in the past, like, he wants a player-led program. He wants players setting the tone. That's not going to be this year, I don't think. Like, even Tim Keenan, we saw against Florida State, it was players looking around saying, who's going to save me? I think Kalen DeBoer's realized I need to be the guy who steps in and, again, a swift kick in the ass when it's needed or a pat on the back when it's called for. So as much as it is probably, it's realizing what this fan base wants, I also think it's what this team needs.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2-1, but beyond 3 wins, there's a lot of work to do. Like, you got to fight for every single win you get beyond that Eastern Illinois win. Like, this is a tougher schedule, I think, because Tennessee's playing better. Oklahoma's probably better than some people thought. I'll give you credit for being on that train. Auburn's probably better than people thought. And every single game is going to be there for you.
I still put a pin in Auburn. They've looked good in terms of the final score until their passing game comes along. I think there's a little bit of, for me, a wait and see with them, because they did a lot of work in the portal bringing in wide receivers, and they got all the wide receivers in the world, and they're not catching a ton of passes because they're not throwing a ton of passes right now.
Well, I'll put it this way. After I dropped you off yesterday, I went to Chipotle next door. And as I walked in, there was an Auburn fan leaving and there was an Auburn fan walking in, and they both gave each other a war eagle. So I guess they're in good mood. And
It's family.
You could have filmed the Purdue commercial. You could have filmed the commercial. Speaking of passing game, Ty was great. I don't know if there was many, Alex or Mike, anything that you saw from him, because again, it's still that thing. It's like he's doing all the right things.
There's one thing, if I'm going to nitpick, there's one thing he's not doing well: running backwards.
Yes, stop doing it.
He's got to stop. And it reminds me, it was the thing that scared me when I watched him the last few years, is he was so quick to bolt and just throw the football away. He had that one big sack, which he even said in his post game, like, I can't do that. It was like one of the first things he talked about. So he's aware of it. But even that scramble where he gained, 20 something yards, it was really impressive. But it was, again, one of those moments where it's just like, Ty, understand the moment, throw the football away, live to play another down.
He ran like 70 yards on that play, right?
Yes, it was insane. Yeah. Next gen stats, probably like the big line. Loop-de-doo.
Right. And that's what I always said to you, like watching him on A-Day or whenever he got into the game. Like, he needs to stop turning his back to the field. Like, he gets pressured and he turns his back. And then you do that, you're not seeing anything. Like, and you don't see guys coming at you. You don't see your receivers. And you put yourself in a position where you're going to get caught, like, by SEC talent. You can probably do that in Tennessee, wherever he was, Martin, Tennessee. Like, you can outrun guys around the corner, but you're not doing that as Ty Simpson against SEC defenders in most cases. So that needs to stop. He needs to step up in the pocket. If he does scramble, it needs to be forward. But otherwise his game was great, and he should have had better stats than what he finished with. I mean, he probably would have been definitely over 400 yards, 26-29 if Ryan Williams catches a touchdown pass, and if Latsier Brooks catches that one over the middle. So that's pretty good. And it would have been 5 touchdown passes. He would have become the 5th quarterback in Alabama history to do that in a game. And Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Tua, Gary Hollingsworth, I think, is the other one. And it would have been Ty as number 5. But that didn't happen. And look, the only play other than the sack that I can think of that I'm like, that wasn't great from Ty Simpson was that 4th down earlier in the game when he tried to force it to Jeremy. Maybe it should have been a DPI. It seemed like Kevin Riley was open in the flat, giving him a shot to get those couple yards. But I think they ran that play again. Is what I was saying to Alex in the press box, where Riley went out to the right and then Jeremy came over the middle, and that time he hit Jeremy for a pretty big gain. So I guess he redeemed himself there.
No, he was really good. And I do think we should also acknowledge that Ryan Williams, absent the drop, really freaking good. Amazing that the guy who's probably pound for pound one of the most talented players in college football can make people look freaking silly. That late touchdown where he just hit the brakes and like every Wisconsin player just kept running off to the ledge was really impressive. And that's the thing you wanted to see. You don't want to see the drops, but you wanted to see that explosiveness because it's going to make other teams account for it. And it's starting to look like maybe they're going to have that balance in the passing game that we've been talking about. where you know now what Jeremy Bernard is capable of. If anybody's sleeping on Jeremy Bernard, they need to stop watching football. But Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams over the top, Isaiah Horton. I don't think we've seen everything we're going to see from Horton, and then Brooks continues to come along. I think they've got a really good balanced passing game. Will they get the kind of running game to support it? I don't know.
And
that's my next. That was kind of my next.
I got one more thought. Just throw
ahead.
Just the passing game. I think Ryan talked about that. He's like, whenever you see the defense shift a certain way to a certain guy, the guy who it shifts away from, he says you see dollar signs, which is, I think it's a healthy thing. I think what Kalen said, they're more unselfish. They definitely have, I think, a little bit wider breadth at the top of their receiver room than they did last year. But the running game is an issue, and I don't know if Jim Miller is going to be an instant fix to it. Based on what I was looking up last night, this is the first game in Alabama history that they've scored 38 points and they've had 72 or fewer rushing yards.
That's crazy.
So this is a team that right now I think has some issues running the ball.
Well, that was going to be my question. My question was going to be 22 for 72. I just don't understand. Look, is it the line? Is it are they rotating too much at the line and the line's not good? Is it the running backs? I don't understand.
They had their average yards before contact was 0.81 yards. That's bad. So that is both the running backs and the offensive line, but it's probably, when you talk about yards before contact, it's probably more the offensive line. I've been very underwhelmed with, I know Caden Proctor had that nice play out in space, but like when it comes to just setting your feet and being that the guy, he hasn't really, to me, flashed the first round talent that I know is in there. The right tackle thing continues to be Michael Carroll seeing the field. They're still rotating at guard. You see Jaden Roberts in there. They're still trying to figure it out. So can that offensive line sort of get where it needs to be? That will help the running game. But I still think there is a very low ceiling for this running game, even when Jam Miller comes back. Jam will help, but I think the best running game is a short passing game for this team.
Yeah.
And the good thing is Jam and Kevin Riley have shown to both be really good in terms of catching the football. So if they can do those quick passes, screens, and sort of create a running game that's not technically a running game, I think you can sort of make up some of that ground. It's not going to give you everything you need in terms of softening up the middle of the defense. It's just not going to do it, but it's something.
Right. Go ahead, Mike.
No, as I said, these are the games where like you really should be beating teams on the ground. And that's what Alabama teams have done in the past. And it's a little bit concerning that you're not doing these games. And then when you're facing bigger bodies in the SEC, how are you going to do it there? And I think specific to Caden Proctor, yes, top 10 pick, right? Everybody thought that. Well, ESPN came out with their positional rankings for 3 of their experts last week. He is number 2 at offensive tackle on one of them, which I think might be reputation based. Number 5 on another, and not listed in the top 5 on another. So that's not where we thought he was going to be.
It's crazy.
All right.
It's crazy.
He does get up for big games. It's happened in the past, so maybe it'll get there. Yeah. You miss the spring 2 years in a row, and people maybe like me, I don't know, just assumed it wasn't going to play a role. It plays a role. He's got to get going for this offensive line to be as good as it can be, because you know what you're getting for Parker Brailsford. Dewberry's been pretty good, but he needs to be the anchor, and it just, he's had some good games against Georgia in the past. Maybe he can do that again.
And they're playing 7 offensive linemen right now because Michael Carroll rotated in more with Formby at right tackle, and then Jaden Roberts played a little bit more. I think they got to figure out 5 to play.
That was going to be my question. We talked about after the show. We're into week 3 now. We're going into SEC play. Maybe this was the plan. We're going to, have our 5 over the next, we're going to get our over the 3 weeks and then get our set 5. But I don't. To me, it's like you said, Mike. You've got to get your 5 and you've got to go. I mean, by now, if they haven't shown themselves, then that's a whole nother story. But you got to get your 5 and get ready to go.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
No,
because ideally, yes, but the coaches can't make it happen.
Yeah,
they can't make Wilkin Formby be consistently a good player. Like, they can't make the guard play be what it needs to be all the time. So if this is what they have to do until it's sorted out on the field, so be it. Because it needs to get sorted out on the field. Like, even Michael Carroll had a couple of snaps were a little bit shaky yesterday. So, like, do you want to throw him out there on the road at Georgia? Probably not. So you're probably rolling with Wilkin Formby until you break in case of emergency and throw Michael Carroll out there.
Right.
Same thing with Jaden Roberts. It's not ideal, but really, to me, it's not about the coaches figuring out as much as his players just figuring out, I need to take this job and not let somebody else come onto the football field. I think it's up to them more than it is the coaches, because nobody's played well enough to say, oh, that guy should definitely be the starter outside of Caden Proctor, Parker Brailsford, and probably Cam Dewberry. Maybe.
Mike, any additional O-line thoughts?
I feel like for consistency's sake with communication and all that on the road in Georgia, and Georgia's probably not the loudest stadium that they're ever going to play in.
It's going to get loud.
I've never been there. Like, put this on the bulletin board in Georgia, just like they put it in the locker room in Wisconsin last week. Like,
hear me, Athens.
Okay.
You can get very freaking loud for big games.
They don't have a lot of big games there. It's been that way. Yes. I mean,
that part is true.
Texas this year is when they're coming.
Yeah, and they've got
Ole Miss game. Or no, they went to Ole Miss last year. And it's usually Tennessee. Like, Tennessee's their big game every year. Mm-hmm. And now Alabama's back in that rotation. So, yeah, maybe the circumstance kind of gets the crowd up. It just doesn't strike me as, Neyland Stadium or Death Valley at night or any of that. So, but with that said,
speaking of Death Valley, do you want to comment on Clemson?
Oh, we'll get into that.
I think it helps that you have 5 of the same linemen and you're not moving guys left to right and all that. So my guess, and there's 2 weeks for them to figure it out, I don't think they know either, is Proctor, Dewberry, Brailsford, Gino, Wilkin. You stick with what you have. But I don't know. I think the highest potential group has Roberts and Carroll on the right side. Yeah. And that's probably your best group to really move some of those Georgia players. But the group you trust probably the most right now is not the freshman and Carroll, and it's probably Gino over Jaden Roberts. So.
And that's the thing, is you move into SEC play, physicality is more and more important. And I like Gino a lot, but I think Roberts' high end gives you more in terms of that. Wilkin, it's the same deal. I think Michael Carroll plays football differently. So that's why I'd love to say these are the 5 guys you roll with. They're going to start with those 5 guys, pretty confident. I don't know that they're going to play every snap, even when the game is close. I don't think those other guys have played well enough to separate themselves.
Yeah, that's fair. Kind of flipping over to the defense. Maybe we were getting watched in the Alabama locker room, because I think we put it more or less 1 sack total, and they had, I think it was 4.
Yeah.
Alex, I'll let you go with this.
It was much better. I'd like to go back and look how much of that was just guys winning one-on-ones versus sending pressure. Because ultimately that's the name of the game. Kalen referenced guys winning one-on-one battles, so it was happening. But you don't want to have to blitz all the time. But it was the guys you expected. 4 sacks, LT Overton, Quay Rousseau, Yanze Pierre, London Simmons was kind of the wild card in there. And how much is he going to play moving forward? I don't know. Maybe he plays alongside Keenan in a game like this, and James Smith is sort of a different piece for them. I don't know. It's good that it finally showed up. Can you keep it up? That to me is the thing. I just still don't see a guy who strikes fear into offense coordinators. It's not there yet, but this was a step in the right direction. Pierre had 5 pressures. That's really good. Overton
he was everywhere.
Pressures. Yeah,
Yanze had a great game.
Yeah, the pressure numbers were really good. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 players had 1 pressure each. That's good. So a really good step in the right direction. But as shaky as we think Georgia's offensive line is, I think they're still better than Wisconsin. So let's see how that goes.
You think?
And let's see if some of those, 7 missed tackles, not the worst we've seen, but let's see if that sort of gets cleaned up too.
Yeah, they played a little bit more of a 3-4 look at times, which they've done before, but Yanze kind of as that second edge with Quay on the field was something that they showed a little bit. maybe that's part of the scheme approach from Kane to try to generate more pressure.
Do you think that changes when Jamarian Latham comes back? Because he gives you more size.
Maybe, but I don't know if Jamarian Latham gives you more pop off the edge. So it's kind of a trade-off there.
But I'm thinking in terms of Georgia and what you expect.
Right. No, I think, if you expect Georgia to try to smash mouth you to death, then I think you got to have Jamarian Latham in there and run a 3-4. And I mean, look, Tim Keenan Kalen talked about it after the game about the injuries. He's like, some of those guys could have played the game, is kind of what he admitted on the radio after. But obviously, they have the bye week coming and they wanted to get them the extra rest and they got through it. Even with Keenan back, I don't know if we can assume that he's going to be perfectly fine on the field. Like coming back from an ankle injury like that, 300 something pounds on an ankle through the entire game. Like, I do think London Simmons will still play a lot. We'll just have to see how effective Keenan is. But I think you have to have a pretty big, sturdy front against Georgia with what they try to do. And I mean, look at Nate Frazier's run last night in overtime.
Yeah,
that's what they can do to you pretty quickly. So
they can rotate. They've got about 3 or 4, maybe even 5 of them to rotate at the running back position.
And Mike and I cackled when we were listening to the halftime interview with on the local broadcast for Georgia, and what were Kirby's words about what they need to do, Mike?
Pound their ass.
Bingo.
He said in the post game that there's a lot of naysayers out there about Gunnar Stockton. He said that on the broadcast.
Do they need to let a naysayer know?
Stockton is
not beating the allegations.
Rocketed up the Heisman odds. He now has higher odds than Ty Simpson at plus 1,300. Ty Simpson's at plus 1,600.
Who's leading the way?
Right now, it is Carson Beck, former Georgia quarterback, who I am very high on.
Sticking on defense, I do want to talk about the secondary. I feel like Bray Hubbard's kind of embodied the season for Alabama. Again, I know this is what Alabama was supposed to do. We've been on this podcast 2 weeks ago. We were saying we're going to sit here. Alabama's probably going to handle both teams. And they, again, the season doesn't start till SEC. But Bray, like you said at the top of the show, I mean, he had 2 picks. He was flying around. The secondary looked pretty good for the most part. Zabian got beat on a play. I don't know exactly what happened there. I think he just got beat. Right. I don't know if you have any thoughts on just anything more on the defense in the secondary.
I have one thought. Bray Hubbard and Whit Weeks, they look exactly the same. I was watching the LSU game last night. I'm like, that's the same guy.
Like the Weeks family and Sherwin,
right?
exactly the same.
Right? Yeah, that was a great.
That was crazy.
But they're basically the same player to me.
Yeah. Right. Just look, anything kind of in the second and the third levels of the defense that you guys want to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think they were tested by Wisconsin. I don't think they're to get tested. Their quarterback situation, like I said, has been a mess, and they've gone away from the pass, philosophically, and they don't have the talent at wide receiver. And that was only more true for ULM the week before. Mm-hmm. So they haven't really played anybody that, even Florida State, I mean, they have some talent at wide receiver. They have a quarterback who can throw it. They made some plays against Alabama through the air, but that's not Florida State's bread and butter either. Like, it was running the ball in a quarterback run. So they haven't really played a team that's going to test them through the air. Granted, last year they did pretty well when that came in front of their face, except for the fourth quarter of the Georgia game. But generally, this defense performed pretty well against the pass last year. I don't know if this is the game either, this Georgia game. Like, I don't know if Georgia's going to be throwing the ball over the yard. So I don't know when that test comes. Maybe Oklahoma, maybe LSU. I don't know, but
Zabian didn't have his best game. I'm not worried about Zabian. Yeah, I'm on the record. I think he's a friggin' stud. Bray Hubbard had a much better game. He bounced back. I'd argue that those 2 interceptions caught him as much as he caught them.
Yeah,
he was the first one at the right time in each one, but he made plays. And in terms of the rush defense, Justin Jefferson had the most tackles, 7 tackles in the run game, but Bray Hubbard and Deontay Lawson were 5 each. And I think that's sort of where they want to be in terms of him coming down in the box and playing physically. So, that's a good sign. He's going to need to do that, obviously, against Georgia. The thing for me is playing assignment football. And do you see Nakai Hill-Green do that thing he's done a couple times this year where he gives up a pass and he turns around immediately and goes, what the heck? Like, why wasn't somebody else on this guy? And I think there's been some miscommunications up front. And if you know anything about the way Georgia likes to pass the football, they like to pass the football to their tight ends. That is a thing that you're going to have to watch. I think they're not going to throw the ball a ton, but I think they're going to throw the ball to their tight ends and to their running backs and make Alabama's front seven prove that they can handle that part of the game, because it's been a little bit shaky to start this season, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of it for the Wisconsin wrap. I know we want to talk a little bit about Georgia. We'll have 2 weeks to do so, but anything else just to kind of wrap up Alabama versus Wisconsin?
One more thing.
Yeah.
We still don't know anything about Alabama's special teams.
Right.
We don't. It's a little bit like Alabama's handled its business, so it's not like you wanted them kicking field goals. We still don't know much about the punting game. We still don't know much about the kicking game, and you're going on the road, and who the hell knows what that's going to look like.
Right. And even at home, I mean, look at Tennessee's kicker last night.
Yeah.
And Connor Talty missed one, don't forget, in the Florida State game.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's an underrated thing. We kind of forgotten about it because Alabama, I think, went 21 drives in a row without punting. I think they had one field goal in that stretch, or 2 field goals by the end of it. But, yeah, I don't know. And then you add on – it wasn't necessarily a special teams penalty. It was Mal Waldrop, I think they credited it to on the sideline on a touchdown, but it affected their special teams.
Yeah, that it was a special teams miscue.
Right, it was a special teams miscue. I think it's too easy to write that off as the penalty was the kick the ball and it wasn't a touchback, and just because of that, he had to return it 90 yards for a score. That's not logical. You still had a chance to stop the guy on the return. So
Kalen was, as the return was happening, turned around and screamed at somebody on the sidelines because he was so pissed off.
He's probably the guy who committed the penalty.
Yes.
But yeah, that's a good point, because special teams, close games that by all expectation this game's going to be close, are often important, as we saw last night with the Rocky Tops.
And we saw in what do we call it, Brett? The flats? Is that what we call it?
Yeah.
Hustle on and kick a 55-yard field goal to take down Mike Rodak's Fighting Dabo Sweeney.
All right, so now, yes, we get to Clemson. Clemson is going to win the ACC, and they're going to be in the playoff. And
Don't forget Florida State, but more than likely, I agree with you.
Dabo is going to have the last laugh because it's just he keeps doing it.
Yeah.
It's incredible, but I have to respect it at this point. So I do.
Can we were talking about the Mike Rodak poll here. Do we give any credit to Georgia Tech, or is it?
Georgia Tech's a good team. I mean, they took Georgia to 7-8 overtimes, whatever it was last year in Georgia. In Athens. I guess Georgia's already.
I still can't believe they're playing that game on a neutral site.
Right, that's a little bit silly. Georgia Tech's a good team. There's a ceiling there. I mean, Haynes King is a damn good quarterback. That would scare me if he played Alabama this year.
He's what did you say? He's part Lamar Jackson, part Tom Brady. Those are his.
Yeah, he asked him who he models his game after. He's like, I try to take things from everybody. I'm a little bit Tom Brady, a little bit Lamar Jackson, and he was doing it while throwing the ball, and it was a great interview.
He wears a helmet like Tom Brady and cleats like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, but look, I mean, Georgia Tech could be there at the end. I just think they're a little bit more limited athletically. Obviously, Clemson's got more talent. But Brent Key's going to have a better job soon, I think. And so will Vanderbilt's
future Arkansas head coach, Brent Key.
I think he can honestly do better than that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if Arkansas makes a change from Sam Pittman, which they haven't been bad. I mean, they took Ole Miss.
They're in close games a lot.
And Nick Saban said we should be paying more attention to their quarterback. But if they make a change from Sam Pittman, I don't know if they go to another offensive line sort of guy in Brent Key. Pittman, the Key feels like you're keeping the same style, and I feel like teams.
But I would argue it gives you the best chance to maintain a course and see it through. That would be, and he has won close games, whereas Sam has not.
It's just always very reactionary when you have a coaching change, I feel like.
Yeah, I just don't like when you don't have to swing the complete opposite direction of what you had before. Because it sets back your program.
Yes.
Yeah. we were all right about Miami USF kind of USF story. Didn't come to a close. I mean, they very well could still end up in the playoff, but Miami handled them pretty convincingly. And
Miami's a good team.
Which kind of takes a good trend. If you're Florida, you just played at LSU, which you go to Miami next week, which is just another story. But so, which kind of brings me to the next question. I wrote down Arch Manning or DJ Lagway, WTF. And I know this is
I'm
Roll
still
Pod
taking
Alabama, but
yeah.
we do some national picks. We talk about the national country and with everything that's going on. But I don't know if you guys saw Arch yesterday. I don't know if you saw DJ yesterday. They both
5 picks for DJ, right?
And one was worse than the other. I mean,
it's bad. I'd still take Arch because I trust Sark more as a play caller than I do Billy. I think Billy gets, for a guy who wore a shirt that said "Scared money don't make money," he really is pretty conservative in terms of passing the football. So look, it feels like that old dead man walking thing.
Yeah.
So Florida's just, I thought they would show more life. And look, the defense I don't think was a problem. 20 points in a game in which you have 5 turnovers on offense. You know, I think the big takeaway was Brian Kelly just being letting one rip after that game. How dare you ask about the offense? We won the game. How dare you ask?
That's a good point because they didn't look great either. And I don't, that's another conversation. But kind of to put a wrap on it, I know we wanted to get into a little bit of Georgia talk. And again, we'll be on here multiple times before. 2 weeks from now, we'll be back on Wednesday and again on the weekend, even with the bye week. But just kind of, I mean, they'll be asked about, I'm sure you guys will be asked about tomorrow. I believe Kane Womack and Grubb will be talking tomorrow, Monday.
No. We just got the schedule, in fact. And I had completely forgotten about this. But instead
breaking news, Rodak again.
Kalen DeBoer, Nick Saban always did the bye week at the Monday Morning Quarterback Club in Birmingham. The bye week in October, the Halloween week one. Kalen DeBoer is actually going to be doing that tomorrow in Birmingham. And some of the coaches that we've been talking about are actually coming up soon. Nick Saban's going to be there September 29th. Clark Lee's going to be there on October 6th. Jimbo Fisher will be there on October 20th. And the man of the hour, Brent Key, will be there in Birmingham on November 3rd. But no Grubb.
Subtle, Brent. Real subtle.
So no Womack, no Grubb tomorrow. We're just going to hear from DeBoer. That is
correct. Be a couple questions to DeBoer in Birmingham, and then the team, as they've done in the past, will have no practice Monday, no practice Tuesday, no practice Wednesday, and they will be back on the practice field Thursday and Friday of this week.
Cool. So we will more than likely we will be back Wednesday to keep it consistent. May have a game or something to do with the Georgia matchup, or we'll bring something. We'll have some fun on here. Great show, guys. Anything else before you guys go watch some NFL or tend to whatever you guys need or doing on this Sunday?
Chase my son around the house. That's what I'll be doing.
Sounds fun. Thank you, guys.